Hello everyone, welcome to Fredflix. This is a film and TV discussion podcast hosted by me, Fred Asquith. No, Ian's not here. This is not Let's Write a Screenplay. Ian has decided to withdraw from Let's Write a Screenplay for understandable reasons because he didn't feel comfortable having ideas on camera. You know, like when you come up with when you're trying to be creative, you have to come up with shit ideas. And in order to get to a good one. And I don't mind that process of like looking stupid on camera. Ian didn't really like it, completely respect it. We are actually still gonna write a screenplay. Like we were never joking when we were like, we're so into that project. And the ideas we were having in the last episode were so good, we're so excited. So we actually met up this week to talk about that. But he doesn't want it to be filmed, that's fine. I actually do intend to update that periodically on this show. But anyway, we'll come to that in a sec. Fredflix. It's a film and TV discussion show. I was like, I don't want to stop filming something and putting it out there about my biggest passion, film. Like, I just want to talk about film and TV. I did it through Let's Write a Screenplay before. That was like my Trojan horse to like just put something out there. And now Ian doesn't want to do it, and I don't have any other friends, and so I'm just like, I still want to do something. Like, I even hate the word podcast. I'm sick of podcasts, right? You're sick of podcasts. Is this going to be the biggest thing in the world? Maybe not. Probably not. Definitely not. But is it going to be valuable to me as a human being? Yes. Like, I need some way to get my passion out there that isn't on like Instagram, TikTok, where I just post about absolute bullshit. And I love that. But I need a place for this. And this is this. So I'd really love you to join me in talking all things film and TV and maybe other things that are going on in my life as part of Fredflix. So that's what this is going to be. I've got my little notes here. My first note was exactly that. I want a platform to talk about my favourite things, so bear with me. And what I mean by bear with me is I'm just trying this out. So Fredflix was like a name that I used for 10 episodes towards the end of 2024, where I was interviewing people. And then I kind of morphed it into Let's Write a Screenplay. I thought that was a really exciting idea, which it was, but now it's fucked. And so now I'm kind of like, okay, at least Fredflix as a name, as a nice punny name, encapsulates talking about film. And I already have a fucking neon sign. I've already got a neon sign for this that my fiance bought me, my wonderful, beloved, darling fiance, who I'm posting about a lot on social media recently. And she's been very patient. And she's bought me a fucking neon sign towards the end of 2024 when I was doing Fredflix. And so I'm just like, sorry, I was just checking if it's recording. Yeah, imagine if I just ranted to myself in a room on my own. So yeah, I'm just like, I'll just fucking reinstate the name. This is it. Me talking about film and TV. And, you know, what are my credentials to talk about film and TV? Because I realised that, like, to a lot of people, it might seem a bit random. Well, I've been a film and TV lover since I can remember. And I know that'll be the case for a lot of you out there. So I'm not like hierarchizing our interest and being like, well, I'm the number one film and TV lover. I'm just a film and TV lover. Now, where I'm coming from with that is I'm not like a navel-gazing, chin-stroking, like, I know everything about every single fucking cinematographer from the 30s to present day. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, I know a bit of stuff like that, but it's mainly contemporary. It's mainly in the popular mainstream arena. I feel like I'm like a film and TV lover with a level of interest that's quite accessible to people who maybe aren't obsessed with it. Because I think I'm obsessed with it, but I think the way I'm obsessed is accessible. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what type of podcast is this going to be? I hate that word podcast. Let's stop saying it. That's what it is. It's just a way in to talk about film and TV in a passionate way that maybe doesn't feel out of reach for people who treat it as more of a kind of side interest. And that's where I'm coming from. And I did a film and TV degree at uni. Like, I don't think people know that. I mean, there's no reason why you'd know that. I went to York Uni, met some of my best friends there. My creator friend Ali Woods went to York Uni, but didn't do the film and TV degree. And I learnt a lot on that degree. And one of the things I learnt was I'm actually not good at making film, which is what that was, right? It was for making film and learning about the technicalities of the cameras. And most film degrees aren't that. They're just like watching film, which I respect as well. But I wanted to do this one because I was like, oh, I want to really get into this. Anyway, it turns out I was fucking wank. Like, turns out I actually genuinely couldn't. I remember vividly, like, genuinely couldn't conceive of what like frame rate meant in terms of how to film a scene. Like, I remember talking to this technician, like, and why does that affect the depth of field? Like, and why? And what's the fuck is going on with why is this longer lens? Like, why shouldn't I use a zoom lens? Like, I just didn't understand. It became not a creative pursuit for me, and more of like there's rules to this. And as someone who loves a rule, I started getting wrapped up in the rules. Like, oh, well, you should shoot this way, and you shouldn't use this lens, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough to remember all these rules. And there was a lot of talented people on that degree. Anyway, that's by the by. That's just to say that adds to my credentials talking about film and TV, and I just don't want it to seem like a really random choice out of nowhere. And then my other credentials are like through my TikTok creating life, which I'll probably touch on a lot in these discussions. I've been able to start getting invites to film and TV events. So I'd say, I mean, recently I've been getting like 2 or 3 invites a week. And I don't say this to brag. I only say this to say, you know, there's stuff I want to talk about in this arena, and I don't really talk about it on my social media, even though they're inviting me, so I go and take a fucking picture and like, I went to the premiere of fucking, you know, but I don't really like to do that. But I do like the actual act of going to premieres and seeing these films and whatnot. So this week, I was invited to, what did I see? Oh, wait, what did I see? What the fuck was on Tuesday? It was the new TV show. What was it? Oh my God, what is going on? So Thursday was The Last of Us. Oh, it was Black Mirror. Tuesday was Black Mirror. That was like, it wasn't like a premiere, but it was a preview with a Q&A with Charlie Brooker. Thursday, I got invited to The Last of Us premiere. I actually ended up cancelling that because I was just a bit run down this week. I was just feeling a bit like, yeah, a bit not under the weather, just a bit like, not burnt out either. Just, I guess I'm saying it's not anything, so I guess nothing. And then last night I went to a BAFTA screening at the BAFTA building, which I've never been to, with my friend. It was a +1 of Richard Franks, who was another funny content creator. Check him out. To see a new program launch there. And next week I've got invited to Sinners on Tuesday. And again, I'm not bragging. I mean, I'm fucking buzzing that I get invited to these things, and I would love to brag about it. But I'm more just saying, these are the types of things I'm going to be talking about. Like, what's it like going to these premieres? I did my first red carpet interview gig a couple of weeks ago at Mobland, the TV show premiere. I interviewed Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, and didn't get to interview Tom Hardy because he walked past me and blanked me. That was brilliant. And so, like, I hope that these discussions will track my journey through this industry as well, at least as a kind of lover and a viewer and a red carpety person kind of way. So yeah, so that's me, and that's where I'm coming from, and I'm going to shut the fuck up. So today we're going to talk about White Lotus, Black Mirror, the Mobland premiere that I talked about, the amateur premiere, the film Flow, which won Best Animated Oscar, the BAFTA thing that I went to last night, and Rewatching Before Sunrise Trilogy. There's a lot going on, but I actually don't envisage it being too long. The White Lotus finale. I don't want to dwell on this too much because it's done, it's dusted, let's all move on. But I thought it was very, very weak, if I'm honest. I thought that it was certainly not in any way comparable to seasons 1 and 2 as a full season and as a finale. And to put my finger on why that is, I think I would just say I didn't feel the culmination of stories, the crescendo and the synchronicity of the stories that we felt in the other 2 seasons. Certainly, the first season you felt like that crescendo, yes, the season generally revolved around the hotel manager, and the crescendo spoke to that. You know, it was everything kind of fed into this one climactic moment of the stabbing. Season 2, I thought, really took that to the next level, actually. And as I was watching season 2, I was like, oh, it almost feels too expansive. I'm kind of, because I watched them, just binged them straight after each other. Like, is it still in the same spirit? And then I was like, no, it actually really improved on the concept, because you had more expansive stories that went out of the hotel a lot more, that again fed into this one central nucleus of a story, all these different groups. And this third season felt very scattered to me. It felt like people were venturing out of the hotel far and wide, going to Bangkok, and there was 8 episodes rather than 6 in the first season, 7 in the second. And I'm like, okay, where are these extra 1 or 2 episodes going? Well, they're going to Bangkok. Like, could that storyline of the dad happened in the hotel? Yeah, probably. You probably could have engineered it that way. Did you justify all the extra episodes by bringing a culmination of the storylines like you did in the first 2 seasons? I'm saying you, as in the writer, Mike White. I think that's his name. I don't think so. I felt like at the end, not only did the storylines not really coalesce that much between each other, but even in and of themselves, you didn't really get that much of a resolution. So, like, I've forgotten her name, but Walter Goggins' fiance, I think it was, dies, right? Spoiler alert. I should have said that. Spoiler alert. But we didn't really see any result of that. None of the characters associated with her reacted to that. It was just an isolated thing based off the back of this Bangkok storyline, which itself was an isolated thing. Sam Rockwell was nowhere to be seen. I mean, he had one shot at the end. Basically, I was disappointed. And I was disappointed to the point where I don't really want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Tipped it down my top. Nice one. Going to talk about the Black Mirror launch. So these events, these launches are generally, you go in, there's a cardboard kind of placement where you can take a picture in front of it. There's some photographer doing that for you, or you take it on your phone. And then you go through, you sit down, you watch the thing. And then maybe get the creator on in advance of the thing. And, hi, thanks for coming. This one was a bit different. We went in and there was like a full performance, really, of like Black Mirror stooges, all in kind of lab coats, running around, shepherding guests down to different areas of this Brunswick Centre, which is like a cinema in, I guess, fucking central London. Nearly had a stroke. And it's kind of got multiple levels. So it's kind of like the Barbican, where it's like there's stairs. There's like 4 levels, and on each different level there was kind of interactive, performative Black Mirror related things, and that was quite fun. I went with my editor friend Zohair, whose channel is This Is Zohair. He actually edited the trailer for Let's Write a Screenplay, R.I.P. Might get him to do it again for this one, but it's not going to be as flashy. But he's a brilliant editor, and I loved going there with him, having a chat. The Q&A with Charlie Brooker was really interesting because he is actually a much funnier man in person than I anticipated to find him. I think because my humour is quite like, can often be quite rant-based. I ironically tend to recoil at like other rant-based comedy people because I think it's almost like it clashes. Like my sensibilities clash with those people because it is me. Do you know what I mean? It's like opposites attract. So like Charlie Brooker to me is actually quite a bit like me in some ways. Like he'll just go off about this topic, that topic, the modern world. I mean, that's what fuels his whole Black Mirror content, right? And so on TV, I'm just like, oh, shut up. And the irony is that that's probably what a lot of people are saying about me, right? But it is what it is. I'm just being honest. But in real life, and I've had this with a few other comedian people that I've met in real, or seen in real life, he was really funny. You can imagine like being sat in a pub with him. It's the old classic analogy. He would be the funniest man in the pub. Like he spun a tale very well, and he had offhand comments that were very biting and witty and quite off the wall. And I really enjoyed feeling that, because I kind of want to like Charlie Brooker and I want to like Black Mirror more. But I have to be honest, it has kind of coloured my view of Black Mirror a little bit. My opinion of Charlie Brooker, because I can kind of feel him so much in those episodes, and I haven't been a massive Black Mirror fan. There's been some that I loved, most that I thought were very well written but okay, and then some that I really hated. And look, there's been fucking tens of episodes now, so maybe that's a good hit rate, but I want to like it more because it's such a big deal for a lot of people. And so we watched this first episode, which was called Common People. And I'll say spoiler alert up front for this one if you haven't seen it. This is Chris O'Dowd and Rashida Jones playing a couple who have to save Rashida Jones's life by investing in like a cloud-based brain surgery replacement thing. And I'm describing it terribly, but just go watch the fucking show. I'm not really going to dive into the plot details and talk about like what I thought about that, but more just to say that I had similar issues with this that I've had with other Black Mirror shows, which is no, I can't predict where it's going to go from the first moment. But once that kind of midpoint happens and you see the trajectory of the show, that's when I tend to mentally switch off from Black Mirror, because it does follow a familiar pattern. You know, once you see, okay, this is how the analogy is being spun for this part, this element of futuristic technology, and this is how it's going to ruin their lives, usually. Okay, I get it. And like, okay, and the thing with Black Mirror is that they often end in tragedy. Like, it doesn't generally end with like an uptick of like, oh, well, they clear it, you know, they get rid of this burden and they live happily ever after, which I'm not saying it needs that. I'm just saying narratively, you know, it's generally going to end in tragedy, i.e., spoiler alert, in this one, Rashida Jones, Chris O'Dowd kills his wife because he's so sick of her saying ads as part of a subscription model for a cloud-based brain. It's fucking brilliantly written. It's so funny, like such a good idea. But you kind of know it's coming from halfway through. You're like, well, this is going to all end in tears, and do I really want to depress myself and watch this? Anyway, I did. You can't fault the ideas. That's the thing that always brings Black Mirror back home. You just cannot fault the ideas, and so people who love Black Mirror will love this. And I'm excited to watch the rest of the series. I am. The Mobland Premiere. Just take another sip of my tea. The Mobland Premiere. So the Mobland Premiere was the first time I've ever been asked to do any kind of red carpet hosting by any brand. And this is something that I've been pushing for fucking ages. I've been badgering TikTok and just saying, like, can you get me one of these gigs? Like, how are people getting these gigs? To be fair, they're getting them because they've got more followers than me. That's the reality. But I also was like, I love film and TV, and I know some of these creators getting these gigs, and like, I would never name any names, but just to say, they don't know what they're fucking talking about. They have no idea what they're talking about. And like, I love this shit. Like, get me in there. I also think part of it is just like, I'm a straight guy in it, like going into his 30s. It's not a very cool character to cast as the red carpet host, really. Like, I think I'm just kind of a boring straight male millennial. I don't know why I prefix that with boring, just to say that like straight male millennial is kind of like, it's a non-diversity casting of that role that I understand why they would want to avoid that. And maybe they just think I'm going to be shit as well. But anyway, Paramount Plus thought that I would be okay, apparently, and they Paramountly, and they got me in. And they said, you're going to interview Tom Hardy, you're not going to interview Helen Mirren, and you're going to interview Pierce, but you can't ask me about Bond or Mamma Mia or anything else. So, I did interview Helen Mirren, Tom Hardy blanked the fuck out of me, and Pierce Brosnan stared into my soul. But I think I did okay. I felt very nervous the week leading up to it. On the night, I felt okay. I kind of was able to warm up with some secondary character actors who were all brilliant, but obviously didn't raise the heart rate as much as Pierce Brosnan staring into your soul. So I was able to kind of get my juices flowing with some standard questions. And then once I heard Tom Hardy was first, I think. Tom Hardy's around the corner. I looked and he was there, the thickest neck I've ever seen in my life, just 4 feet to my left, thicker than his head. And he was kind of like looking growly and grizzly and gruff. And I was like, oh God, he's going to fucking hate me. He's going to hate me. Here he comes. Just straight by me. Couldn't have gone quicker straight by me. Not even quick. He just ambled by me. He was so confident in the fact that he wasn't going to talk to me. Don't even think he looked. They have these like wranglers, these like, I don't even know if they're agents or PR or whatever, being like, okay, Tom, we're going to take you to this station. And the problem was that my station was called Paramount Plus Socials, which is what I was. I was the social outlet for Paramount Plus because I was going to do a post on my profile. Problem with that is the wranglers don't like the word socials. They want to see like Deadline.com, BBC, that kind of thing. And so even despite the fact that Paramount produced the fucking show, I was what's the word? Passed up by Tom Hardy / Tom Hardy's wranglers. Helen Mirren was not supposed to talk to any of us. Obviously, on the way, I was like, I bet she's going to fucking talk to us and I'm not going to have any questions ready. So I got some ready. And she came up and they said, okay, Helen, this is Paramount Plus Socials. And she went, oh, socials, like that. And I was like, oh, Helen, like, I'm not going to be a douche. And her wrangler had said to me before, don't do anything stupid. And I was like, what do you mean do anything stupid? And she said, just don't do any dances or anything. I'm like, do you think I dance on TikTok? Is that what you think I do? I didn't say that, but that's what I thought. I said, I'm not one of those people. I think I'm fine. And then Helen was coming. I was like, oh, it's fine. Hi, Helen. Nice to meet you. And then Helen Mirren's looking at you and you're just like, oh, okay. And I asked her about The Long Good Friday, which was one of the first films she starred in. And it was Pierce Brosnan's first film. And I knew that they hadn't had a scene together. But I thought, I'll bring this up because they're both in this. And maybe that's kind of a full circle thing where, they finally get to have scenes. And not only that, but they're a couple in this one. I dropped the question and she was like, well, me and Pierce didn't have scenes together. And I was like, yeah, do you know what, Fred? That was a wank question because they didn't. And she's obviously going to say that. And she's going to think you have never watched it. And yeah. And so that was annoying. I kind of fucked that up. Anyway, and so that along with the socials thing meant that Helen Mirren was lovely, but a little bit reticent to get involved in my questioning at first. But I think I pulled it back at the end. Pierce Brosnan was a bit more open, but he was very Pierce. So he didn't look me in the eye. So he was talking, he'd kind of look down and he'd say something and then when he was done, he'd squint back at you. And you'd wait for your next question and he'd go, well, I said and glance and down and glance again. And like that. And so he his charisma and his confidence comes across in a kind of, I'm almost too good to look at you kind of way. And again, I'm not trying to badmouth these people. Like, I was in awe of Pierce Brosnan. I was looking at his fucking face and I was like, you could be Bond now. Like, if I was Barbara Broccoli and I was still the owner of Bond and I looked at you now, I'd be like, you could do the role now. Like, we're all saying this new Bond has to be under 40. Apart from Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan can do it now. Let's just do an oldie worldy Bond. He's 60, he's retired, but he gets back in the game for one more thing. Do that. Because I tell you what, I still fancy him. So the whole Bond girl conceit's going to still work, although it is outdated. So I managed to get through the PS1. Also asked him the same question about Long Good Friday, and he gave me the same, the same answer. Why the fuck am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And I think my best interview was Guy Ritchie. So we had this very tight situation where I'm stood next to a camera here, right into my fucking eyeball, which isn't looking at me, which was annoying because I wanted to be seen next to these people, and I was promised that I would be. But anyway, and then there's like a rope, and then there's like this much space, and there's a person behind me telling me who's coming up and stuff. She was so helpful. The camera guy and the sound guy. So there's 4 of us like squashed in this thing. It's not as decadent as you might think. And so you're kind of trying to regain some kind of poise and stature whilst not looking like an absolute fucking wally, basically. But my best interview was Guy Ritchie, and I think that was because he also had the same reticence in regards to socials. He didn't say it this time, but he went, "What the fuck, socials?" And I think it was because he was pleasantly surprised by my questions. I think they were more informed. I was asking him about his visual style and his relationship on set with Tom Hardy. And it sounds quite like generalised questions, but I think I asked them in a way that felt informed. And I think that did well. Anyway, if you want to see more about that, check out the video I posted on my TikTok. I'm really happy with it. And like, it was such a great night. And, oh, sorry, I don't know if you heard that little frog in my throat. And I really want to get to a point where that's kind of a regular gig for me. And who knows? Mission Impossible coming soon. That's also Paramount. Who knows? So then we move on to The Amateur premiere, which is actually out this weekend as I record it. But this was a couple of weeks ago. Sip of tea. This was a real humbling experience. So, like I say, this was another red carpet event. This was at the Odeon Lux Leicester Square. And as you walk into these places, like I say, there's the cardboard position to take a picture. But at the bigger ones, such as this one, there's a larger frame outside for the real press photographers to take a picture. Also known as colloquially the Getty image station, where to get a Getty image. And to my knowledge, I'd never had a Getty image. You know, one where it has like the Getty watermark online and you have to pay £300 to have a picture of yourself because it gets shipped out to like Daily Mail and whatever. And they do it so they can get pictures of, on that night, there were people from Made in Chelsea, people from Big Brother, and like, just like, oh, this person in the Daily Mail, this person was at the Amateur, and so they paid £300 for that picture, and that's that. So they tend to reserve, well, they pretty much exclusively reserve that experience of getting a Getty image for people who deserve a Getty image, people of note, people who, if you Googled them, would have a few Daily Mail articles about their life. You know, so Gemma Collins went and picked up groceries today. You know, that kind of person. Which is not me. It's not me. I would love to be, but it's not. And however, when we walked in, we were told we would have a chance. And yet, then we were told, it's too busy. Go inside to the lowly indoor creator photography point. And they said, oh, there'll be a Getty image photographer there as well. And I was like, yeah, whatever, mate. There wasn't. Anyway, it cleared out. People started to file into the cinema. And I said to my beloved fiancée, we should go and try and get a Getty image again because I think everyone's inside now. And so I said to the security guard who'd previously stopped us going back outside, I said, oh, your colleague has just told us we could go and get a picture down there. Is that right now? Because it seems a bit more empty. And he said, oh, yeah, because if you say it's their colleague, they always just like, oh, yeah, cool. And then we passed the kind of amateur press PR person on the way down and said, oh, your colleague just said we could come get a picture down here now. Is that true? It's a bit emptier. And she went, and then another one of them walked up behind and went, yeah, fine, like that. We walked down, and then the person manning the station, the person manning the outdoor Getty image station, turned to me and was like, obviously in her eyes was like, oh, who's this person? And I was like, oh, well, your colleague said we could come get it. So I basically just colleagued it all the way back. Always just use the word colleague, because then they're scared, right? Because then they're like, oh, maybe it was my boss. I don't want to not let you on and then my boss is angry with me. Maybe my boss loves this person who I don't know who the fuck they are, right? But so then she lets us on. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And in those 5 seconds where I'm walking onto this Getty image station, my thoughts are, I've made it. I'm getting a photo taken at a premiere in the centre of London with my beloved fiancé who looks wonderful and is dragging my image up, right? And then we get there, we stand in the centre on the marker, we look up, and right in front of me, there are 30, 40 photographers, all of them with their cameras pointed down. And they look up thinking, oh, who's this person? And they go, oh, don't know. And they all start, and they kind of start awkwardly fidgeting. I don't know why this process hasn't been democratized somehow. Just take a fucking picture. Because suddenly my heart sank and I was like, oh yeah, I am a nobody. And they don't know me. And I guess they don't want to take a picture because why would they use 1 kilobyte of space on their camera? Because they're never going to get £300 for my picture from the Daily Mail. So what's the point of even taking it? Imagine someone not trying to save film, but just simply trying to save 1 kilobyte of space on their camera that has probably 3 terabits of hard drive inside it. They just didn't want to take it. But then 2 guys humoured us and just very lazily, and then one guy over here was like, oh, look over here. Turns out he was taking a video. So 3 out of like 40. And it was honestly, it ended up being quite a, not disheartening because it was just the reality of the situation, but quite a very humbling experience. And anyway, I got my Getty image, went on gettyimages.net or whatever the fuck it is the next day. And obviously cost £300 to get the full quality. Just screenshotted it. Nice one. So won't be doing that again. Now, just last 3 things. Flow, BAFTAs, Before Sunrise. I'll get through BAFTAs. Just to say that, I went to this BAFTAs thing last night with Richard Franks, and it was to launch the new show called The Assembly, which is based on a French show, probably of the same name, which is about neurodivergent people interviewing celebrities. So in this case, it was majority autistic people interviewing David Tennant in kind of a Sky Rise in London. And you know what? It was beautiful. It was a 30-minute episode followed by a Q&A with the line of ITV commissioners. And it was honestly a beautiful show, and it made me quite emotional, and I think it could be a big deal. And I think it's out on the 26th of April. And I will be watching the rest of them. They've got like Danny Dyer and Gary Lineker. I'll be watching them, right? Anyway, just to say, this wasn't a big event. It wasn't like a red carpeted event. But in that way, kind of felt more refined. So there was this BAFTA building, which I've never noticed, in the middle of the road leading up to Piccadilly Circus. I've walked up and down that road so many times, especially during lockdown, because Green Park used to be my like haunt, really, in lockdown. And so I was like, I've never fucking looked at this thing. So then it was just go in, and there was like this kind of bar area where there was all the BAFTA members just having a drink after work. And I was kind of a bit like, oh, right. And then there's obviously this screening room, which reeked of my uni screening room, just like a kind of slightly over-padded, over-soundproof screening room that you know BAFTA would have. Like, it's not like a View cinema. It's like a screening room where every time you speak, your voice is sucked into the soundproofing within half a second. The type of room that gives you a headache. It's kind of overstimulating in its understimulatingness. You know, that type of room. And it was really nice. It was actually nice to feel like, oh, this is where people just like hang out. This is where writers are, and we met like a writer of EastEnders and met someone who was on This Morning and Loose Women, and it's like, oh, this is where film and TV people just hang out. They're just members. Oh, let's go for a drink at the BAFTA bar after, private members bar. And I got wind from a few people that like for them this wasn't like an invited screening. It was actually more like if you're a member, you go and look at the listings of the screenings and, oh, I fancy going to see that David Tennant launch. I'll book a seat for that, which I presume is free. And I love that. Like I say, it felt more refined than like, oh, everyone's invited and everyone wants to look good and everyone's trying to prove how they belong here and all this. It was like, oh no, everyone here is kind of equal, not me as in them. And this is just very normal for them. Like, let's go see this launch and let's go see this screener for the BAFTAs. And that was really interesting. And I doubt it'll be circles that I'll operate in very often, because Richard, who invited me, he is really getting his teeth into TV and he's doing really well. So I don't think it's my kind of realm, but I found it very interesting. So check it out if you do walk past that area on Piccadilly. It's quite a surreptitious building. And then a couple of kind of reviews. Really, I'm off to see Drop today. By the way, the kind of the Blumhouse horror film about getting airdropped something on your phone while you're on a date. I'm excited about that, so I'll review that in the next episode. But this week, I'd like to round up by reviewing Flow and also my rewatch of Before Sunrise. So, Flow is the winner of the Best Animated Feature at this year's Academy Awards, and just fucking Google it, right? I've said this before, if I'm reviewing films, I don't like to listen to reviews personally where they just say the synopsis for half an hour before they actually review the film. If you want to know the synopsis, Google it, but it's about a cat in a jungle going through various hijinks, right? It's literally about a cat, and there's no words, there's no dialogue. Fucking hated it, right? Fucking hated it. I went in expecting to hate it, but then I thought, well, it won the Oscar, so, maybe I'll have a religious experience. Anyway, I didn't. I really respect... This is what I put on my Letterboxd review. Follow me on Letterboxd, by the way. I really respect and value the creativity on show in this film. It was done by someone in their bedroom, I think. Daniel Bedingfield style. Just kind of did it up on this program that apparently is downloadable by the common person. And for that reason, it is exceptional, what they've been able to do. And narratively, visually, it is very cute. But it does feel a bit like a previs for a Pixar movie in 2002. I'm just oh, can I see the real animation now? It does look half done to me. But I respect the effort, because it sounds like it's just one bloke. But as a viewer, I'm just receiving the art. Right? And secondly, this is a personal thing, just tonally and style-wise. It's just not my thing. I'm not into cutesy, allegorical, grand scope adventure animations like Studio Ghibli style animation stuff. I'm just not into it. And so I actually walked out, and I was with my friend Ian, Let's Write a Screenplay at RIP. And he stayed in. I said to him about 10 minutes in, I was like, are you enjoying this? No, it was about half an hour in. I said, are you enjoying this? And he went, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So I walked out and I walked out about 40 minutes in, sat on the chair outside, called my mum. Had a wee, called my mum. Waited for Ian to come out because we were off for a coffee after. Ian came out and I was like, oh, so you enjoyed that then? And he went, no. And I said, oh, but I asked you if you enjoyed it. And he said, oh, I thought you were asking me if I was comfortable or something like that. I was like, bro, why am I don't just turn to people in the middle of a fucking screening going, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable? What the fuck? So we actually could have walked out and saved ourselves 40 minutes of our life. But that's that. And that's all I've got to say about Flow. And then finally, Before Sunrise, but the Before Trilogy rewatch. I won't dwell on this too much, just to say this was my favourite trilogy ever made. It still is my favourite trilogy ever made. I think it's exceptional how these characters are tracked across 18 years so beautifully. And not just trying to transplant the same character from film to film, but truly developing those characters in a way that people genuinely develop in their life. I was watching them with my fiance for the first time. She'd never seen them. And she said, oh, I feel like Celine. Wait, am I having... That's her name, right? Before Sunrise. Her name is Jessie Before Sunrise. Is that her name? Celine, right? Am I losing the plot? Celine, yeah, fuck. Okay, fuck. She said, I feel like Celine's changed a lot between films 1 and 3 in a way that doesn't track for me. And I was like, do you know what? It nearly ruined the film. It genuinely nearly ruined the third film for me. Not her voicing her opinion, me realising that she might be right. Because I was like, oh yeah, watching them all within 1 week, which is what I did. I was like, yeah, she is actually quite a lot more sweet and airy-fairy, I guess, in the first one. And it's similar in Friends, where Phoebe is very airy-fairy in the first few seasons. And then by the final season, she's kind of just dumb. And that's the difference. In this before trilogy, Celine is airy-fairy and quite optimistic. And then by the end, she's actually a massive cynic. I think that it's definitely deliberate, because in the first film, Jesse's very cynical-ish. And then in the final film, I would say he's more of the optimist. So that's the way I justify it to myself. But my fiance did make me wonder for a second, oh, did they miss a trick with... Is this at her core the same Celine as it was in the first film? And I did have to think about it for a second. But beyond that, cried in all three. In the first film, I cry at the listening booth scene. I cry throughout, to be honest. In the second film, I cry at the ending scene. You're going to miss that plane. And in the third film, I cry at the... I love you. I'm giving you all of my life. I'm honestly tearing up just saying that. Oh my God, I'm honestly tearing up just saying that. Like, I'm a time traveler. Like, at the end when he's like, no, I've just come back from meeting your 82-year-old self. Oh, I'm getting shivers. Oh, fuck, it's so good. It's so fucking good. And that editor friend that I mentioned, this is Zohar, that's his tag, did this before sunrise edit. It's got 5 million views on YouTube. TikTok, and rightly so. Go check it out. Because it's using that time traveler monologue over the top of a montage. And oh, it's so beautiful. I'm still getting shivers. I'm still shivering. Oh my God. I'm shivering. And they're all 5-star films for me. And I love kind of watching them every 5 years. And I do hope there's a fourth film. And maybe only a fourth film. If there isn't, I'm not bothered. But if they do a fourth film called After Sunset, you know what I mean? Before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight. After midnight, maybe? After sunset? Before breakfast. Before daybreak. Before daybreak? Oh no, that's sunrise. Shit. Oh fuck. Well anyway, I just think they could do that with two characters in their 60s. It's kind of where my parents are right now. In their 60s, their kids have all moved out and moved on, and they're having to kind of redress their relationship in the cold light of day. Like, how do we love each other in this new context? We've been through this, like, almost traumatic period of, like, kids, money, blah, 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 blah. And then now we'll come out at the other end and like, and there's no kids, and we've got the house and we've got the jobs, but have we still got our love? Have we still got each other? And I think the film would be exploring a second honeymoon phase, almost like a mirror to Before Sunrise. Like, I could see it being the sweetest one, really, because I think there's quite a lot of angst in Sunset and definitely in Midnight, but I think it could be the sweetest one alongside Sunrise, as like almost re-meeting each other. Almost like that time traveler monologue at the end of Midnight, but as an entire film. Like, let's rediscover this love, and I think they do. I think we've had enough of the trauma from Before Midnight. I think I would like just some pure kind of falling back in love almost. And yeah. God, I've really enjoyed this, I've really enjoyed this. I'm glad I've done it. So if you got this far, you might as well subscribe. This is what I'm going to be planning to do. I plan to do it weekly. And I hope that weekly there will be things for me to talk about. It's in audio format, but if you're on YouTube, you're my favorite. I really love posting these on YouTube, and might post other isolated reviews on there and all my other shorts and stuff. So that's becoming kind of a hub for me now. So if you're not on YouTube, get the fuck on there or fuck off. And I also am on Letterboxd. Fred Asquith, you'll be able to spot me. It's the same profile picture everywhere. My rule is, If I can't have at Fred Asquith on the platform, then I don't go on the fucking platform. Apart from YouTube, which is at Fred Asquith YT. But everywhere else, it needs to be Fred Asquith. And yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for staying. And I'll hopefully see you next time. And let me know what things you'd like me to discuss in these shows, or how you'd like me to discuss them, or places where this show could go. I'd love to make it a collaborative effort. All right, thank you guys. Bye-bye!